This video is sponsored by G-Portal. More on that at the end. ARK, the animated series, just got a trailer drop, and now we have an insane amount of material to look at and things to unpack. In this video, I'm going to point out a ton of things you probably missed in the trailer. After you watch this video, if you're looking to catch up and understand ARK lore, which there is tons of in the game, go check out my hours and hours of content I've made that tells and visually portrays the game's story in my series ARK, the Survival Stories. I also have lore summary videos you can check out, which kind of just explain it like I'm doing here. But without further ado, if you like this video, smash the like button and subscribe, and let's get into the breakdown and analysis of the ARK animated series Season 1 trailer. Before we even start, we see executive producers Gerard, Butler, Russell Crowe, and Vin Diesel. Some huge names producing this show here. Also, we hear the Journey's End music, which is actually the last track in ARK Survival Evolved chronologically. It's like the credits theme for Genesis 2. Helena Walker comes out of some kind of conference or meeting, maybe, and she hugs her wife, Victoria. Helena is a paleontologist, and Victoria is an idealistic humanitarian aid worker. Victoria says,
"I'm proud of you."
And Helena responds,
"I couldn't have done it without you."
Victoria then delivers a very sad line.
"And you'll never have to." Which
we know is not exactly true, because this foreshadowing very quickly paints the picture that Victoria dies. Also, we see the creators of ARK, Jeremy and Jesse, with the show being directed by animation visionary Jay Oliva, who is an American storyboard artist that actually worked on the animated Batman movies. Helena has her hair down, looking very sad, wine glass in foreground. We hear who I believe is Santiago saying,
"I found in my life that a sense of loss is inescapable. Death smiles at us all in its time."
This nods to the fact that Victoria Walker dies. Some obvious foreshadowing here, man, though it's revealed, like I said, pretty quickly. Helena looks at her phone, swiping through old photos of Victoria. If you can't tell, we're switching back and forth between Victoria having died and when Helena was, making memories with her.
"Tell me you'll change your mind. I can help those people. I can make a difference. You'll be okay."
Also, when Victoria reaches and grabs her arm, we see a pretty obvious tattoo here on the arm of a trilobite. Victoria is, I think, more so a humanitarian aid worker, but she could also be somewhat of a paleontologist. There is that still of her with Helena on a dig site. So there's a couple ways we could take this. Either Wildcard is doing a nod towards the Survival Stories and its creator, or it was just unrelated. They just chose the trilobite. That was just an interesting choice that I found very heartwarming. Either way. And then they drink wine together. At this point, we hear Rockwell saying,
"No one knows where, or indeed what, this place is. Some think it to be the afterlife, and others purgatory."
This is, of course, talking about the ARK itself now, which we'll see very soon. Now, one of my favorite voices we hear during the sequence is from Thunder Comes Charging, who's a Native American Lakota warrior, and he says,
"How can I fear death, Helena? I have already died. As have we all. These are not my stars, and this is no afterlife. If it were, I would see my wife again. I would hold my son in my arms."
So to break this down, we're getting little bits of voiceover from various different characters as we see the descent of Helena into her eventual death with flashbacks of her old memories with her deceased wife, Victoria. She took some pills because probably she couldn't bear to live anymore after her wife died. We don't know how Victoria Walker died yet, but the police notify Helena at the door here. Nerva has a cool line.
"There is only one way that we all come to be in this land of the would-be dead, Helena of the Walkers."
Helena of the Walkers. I love that. All right, so now Helena's dead, but wait, she's underwater? Well, for the plethora of people who don't know, this is how ARK's story works. To put it simply, the ARK lore characters were plucked from different time periods and placed on the ARKs because during the creation of the ARKs, deceased people were essentially harvested for their brain bits, and the advanced humans at the time built a database with all these different dead people's memories. That's why Helena's there alongside people from hundreds of years before her time. Why she wakes up underwater instead of the beach, don't know, but as soon as she pops out of the water, a giant megalodon starts chasing her. Then a lead Xaicthus devours the megalodon, and that's that. A particularly carnivorous or omnivorous dodo bird pecks at Helena and freaks her out, and this is where we're introduced to Bob, voiced by Carl Urban, Billy Butcher from The Boys, but he does an American accent here, which is kind of weird. Bob helps Helena by teaching her the ropes. He's pretty much the embodiment of us, the players, and this was a really thoughtful nod to ARK's history and their player base because Bob was the default name for survivors, and it's also what we ARK players call noobs. If you just got the game, you're a Bob. Cool little detail, Bob does the hatchet equip animation just like from the game. The dodo is eating ants, and these ants aren't the size of Titanomyrma, they're freaking tiny in comparison. Either the animated show's Titanomyrmas are really small, or these are like baby versions or something, I don't know. Helena and Bob find an area of the island that has brontos and trikes. It's really beautiful.
Believe it.
Now we cut to what we can assume is a new Legion member given the red armor, riding a raptor here. We get this dope shot with the raptor squad running down a hill towards a burning village. Helena is riding a parasaur, holding her dodo, and she totally demolishes this guy in full flight. She then catches a coelacanth, and it promptly gets absolutely devoured by a Troodon. She's in what looks like a cave with bones in the background. This is definitely some kind of den of the saber-tooth, we could probably assume. But this saber-tooth is huge. Now, we see the saber with a spear in its side, as we're finally introduced to the most broken character in ARK, the game at least, Mei-Yin. She runs under the saber and slashes its frickin' belly open. This thing is huge. Helena and Mei-Yin meet for the first time. Now, what the heck? We see Mei-Yin running from what looks like almost a chibi broodmother. I mean, this thing is adorable in just how small it looks in comparison to the game. Mei-Yin does an insane backflip off a wall and stabs the broodmother with a spear, or maybe an advanced spear of some kind. It kind of looks like a redesign of the pike, or like a ballista turret ammo from the game. Now, while we're still in what looks like the broodmother arena, Helena's holding a tech rifle. She fires it, and Mei-Yin's like, what the fuck? Next, we see the green obelisk doing something. It's activated, maybe? Not sure what this means, but at this point in the trailer, we realize, I think, that the island is actually vastly different in the animated series from the game. See, in the game, the island is a pretty small version of what the animated series island looks like. The animated series also has different biomes we look at later on. Right here, for example, we see a huge plains biome with a river running through. Now, keep in mind, this could be a real-life flashback from, when the characters riding horses here were alive back on Earth. So that's important to think about. But if this is set on the island, then we're looking at an entirely new biome here. This shot with Helena and Mei-Yin is really cool to me because we see a vast stretch of land behind them. I mean, this island is seriously gigantic, and you'll see why in a second. Also, Mei-Yin says this.
Fight to free all those whose names you do not know and may never know.
This is a Dimorphodon. Let's go. Here we see Thunder Comes Charging, the guy who we heard the voice of before in Helena's flashbacks. Thunder Comes Charging is riding a Pteranodon with Mei-Yin in the back, and Helena is hanging on for dear life. Why are they doing this? Well, maybe Mei-Yin and Helena are teaming up with Thunder Comes Charging to take down Nerva or something like that. But I do like that it's another nod to gameplay mechanics of ARK, having to pick people up with a Pteranodon. Though in normal gameplay, you can't have two people riding them. This shot here is amazing. We get to see the sheer scale of the island, though keep in mind that we don't yet see the snow biome or the blue or red obelisks. So far, we've only been shown green. But like I was saying before, this island is just huge. Unless the perspective is just intentionally warped, like we saw with the Megalodon, obviously, it's sort of just like an anime thing. But I mean, seriously, this thing looks like about 2 or 3 times as vast as the in-game island. New character. This is Alice, a peppy 17th century Inuit teenager. She's voiced by Devry Jacobs, and it looks like Alice is running through a field from 2 stegosaurus that are really pissed at her. Mei-Yin does an insane maneuver here and jumps up onto a T-Rex to ride it. She does a battle war cry, and it looks like she's actually fighting against the Gladiatrix, who's riding a Uteranus. We can't really make her out that well, but I'll have the picture for comparison on screen here. I'm pretty sure that's who it is. Here we see a dope animation with either Mei-Yin as she was younger in her past life or her brother Han. We can't really quite tell because we don't have context. This is followed by a shot of warriors wearing yellow turban rebellion headbands. This is true to the game since Mei-Yin says in her Explore Notes in ARK Survival Evolved that her fear died with the yellow turbans. And so we can also assume that this character in the front here is Mei-Yin in her past life before death. Here we definitely see the new Legion compound. And man, this thing is huge. They've got Brontos with platform saddles, dudes with flak, and this guy's got a whip. Check it out, this item is normally on Scorched Earth and further maps, so the fact they have a whip indicates we might see items, Scorched Earth and onward, just in the first season of the animated series and on the island at that. Someone is being devoured by Mega Piranha here. I don't know who it is exactly. Is that Helena? Her hair is a bit shorter than Helena's hair has been, so it's kind of hard to tell. I don't think that's Helena. Helena pulls back a bowstring here. She has a cut on her face, and there's a bit of fire in the background, indicating this might be one of the shots in the sort of scene with their confrontation with Mei-Yin and Helena fighting against Nerva. Thunder Comes Charging is charging down with a hatchet / tomahawk and or a knife or a sword. Okay, now we see this insane dwarven ass looking base here. I wonder who built it. But in this same shot, we see what actually looks like an Argentavis, and a fast one at that. There's someone riding it, and I have a sneaking suspicion it's Helena, because in her notes on the island, she has an Argentavis called Athena, which Rockwell gave her. So is this potentially Rockwell's manor? Just like straight out of the Lord of the Rings instead? I don't know, but it's a curious thing to consider. In this next shot, we see what could be the Black Thumbs tribe in the game's story. I only say this because their armor is black, but they're riding Daedons. These things look freaking scary, man. They just throw this guy off the bridge. Nerva jumps down off some bridge, I think, and Helena and Mei-Yin stand up to confront him head on. This right here is Gaius Marcellus Nerva, basically the ultimate bad guy on the island. He has a lot of complexity, actually, and he's one of the coolest villains in the game, in my opinion. Nerva is a Roman centurion, and in the game, he had a preference for being very proper with ancient Roman architecture. He also, I believe, had a preference for sort of dressing a little less barbarously, so I'm a little confused on why they went with this design. Granted, we've known this for a while.
Do you not realize what can happen when a man defies the gods? Beast Queen!
Give me 1,000 lives, and I would give you 1,000 deaths.
That's a pretty badass line, Mei-Yin. Definitely more action/superhero-esque when we're comparing this Mei-Yin to the game's Mei-Yin.
I swear by the souls of my ancestors that I will find your leader and drive my blade into his heart. In Wutsui's name, I will take his head.
And the last shot we have is of Helena holding her shoulder, or maybe a backstrap, and saying, "I'm going to survive."
I'm going to survive.
So that's a breakdown of the trailer. Lots to unpack here, but I hope you found this informative and learned something that you didn't know before, or that you didn't spot in the trailer when you watched it. Also, check out my ARK the Survival Stories series to catch up on the hours and hours of ARK lore that there is to unpack. I've made machinima videos that pretty much tell almost the entire story of the game, so go check those out on my channel or with the links below. Also, as I mentioned, this video is sponsored by Gportal, which is an amazing server provider that I use myself to host my 12-map ARK cluster on PC. If you'd like to get your own servers, go ahead and use my code with the link in the description below to get 10% off your next purchase. As always, if you like this video, smash the like button and subscribe for more. I will talk to you next time. Bye, everyone.